In the year 1917, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared 6 times to 3 little children, Francisco and Jacinta Marto and Lucia de Santos. In her appearances, Our Lady said that the rosary must be prayed every day. Our Lady also said that Jesus wants to establish devotion to her Immaculate Heart in the world, and she promised salvation to those who embrace this devotion. The children asked the Blessed Virgin to work a miracle so that all might believe that she was truly appearing. Our Lady told the children that on October 13, 1917, she would perform a miracle that everyone will have to believe. The night before October 13, 1917, there was a tremendous rainstorm, with rain falling the whole night. People were up to their ankles in mud. On October 13th at noon, the Blessed Virgin appeared to the children. Lucia suddenly told the people in the crowd to shut their umbrellas in the midst of a drenching rain that had turned the area to mud. The miracle then happened. The sun started to make movements outside the laws of nature. The sun appeared to change colors and danced in the sky. It spun rapidly like a gigantic fire wheel. The sun, after 10 minutes, began to plunge towards the earth. Thousands of people in the crowd of 70,000 that had gathered to witness the promised miracle began to cry, and fell on the ground thinking the end of the world had come. Right before the sun was about to hit the earth, it reversed direction and went back to its normal position in the sky. Many of the sick were instantly cured. The miracle stunned the gathered multitude, converting hardened unbelievers, including atheists and Freemasons, and confirmed thousands in the Catholic faith. And there was a second miracle, because the muddy ground and everyone's clothes were instantly dried. People shouted, "Miracle! Miracle!" Later, a scientist examined the ground where the miracle took place, and said that the amount of energy needed to dry all the ground and the clothes would take a gigantic bomb being dropped in the area. If a bomb was dropped, of course, all the people in the area would have been killed. So it was truly a miracle worked by the Blessed Virgin. On October 15, 1917, 2 days later, the Masonic and anti-Catholic daily newspaper O Seculo declared about the Fatima miracle, quote, "How the sun danced in broad daylight at Fatima, the apparitions of the Virgin, the sign of heaven. Thousands declared a miracle," end quote. The newspaper declared in its headline that Fatima was the sign of heaven. Does that sound familiar? Apocalypse 12, verse 1, quote, "A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun." So the newspaper headline was a confirmation by a public and anti-Catholic source that Our Lady of Fatima's apparitions and the miracle of the sun were indeed the sign and event predicted in Apocalypse 12, verse 1. During her appearances at Fatima, Our Lady revealed 3 secrets to the children. The first secret was a horrifying vision of hell. Our Lady opened her hands once more as she had done the 2 previous months. The rays of light appeared to penetrate the earth, and we saw as it were a sea of fire. Plunged in this fire we saw the demons and souls of the damned. The latter were like transparent burning embers, all blackened or burnished bronze, having human forms. They were floating about in that conflagration, now raised into the air by the flames that issued from within themselves, together with great clouds of smoke. Now they fell back on every side like sparks in huge fires, without weight or equilibrium, amid shrieks and groans of pain and despair, which horrified us and made us tremble with fright. The demons were distinguished from the souls of the damned by their terrifying and repellent likeness to frightful and unknown animals, black and transparent like burning coals. That vision only lasted a moment thanks to our good Heavenly Mother, who at the first apparition had promised to take us to heaven. Without that, I think we would have died of terror and fear. Our Lady said to the children, "You have seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved, and there will be peace. The war is going to end, but if people do not cease offending God, a worse war will break out during the reign of Pius XI. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is the sign given to you by God, that He is about to punish the world for its crimes by means of war, famine, and persecutions against the Church and against the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecutions against the Church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she shall be converted, and a certain period of peace will be granted to the world. In Portugal, the dogma of the faith will always be preserved, etc. Do not tell this to anybody. So the first part of the secret of Fatima was a vision of hell. The second part of the secret was a prediction of World War II if men did not cease offending God. To prevent World War II and the other punishments predicted in the second part of the secret, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared and gave a message to Lucia on June 13, 1929. Lucia was now a religious sister at a convent in Tui, Spain. The Blessed Virgin told Sister Lucia that the moment has come in which God asked the Holy Father, in union with all the bishops throughout the world, to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart, promising by this means it shall be saved. Pope Pius XI never consecrated Russia, and on January 25, 1938, the skies of Europe at night were illuminated by an unknown light as predicted by Our Lady. People in Switzerland at 11 p.m. at night could read their newspapers outdoors. Sister Lucia confirmed that this strange light was the sign given by God that He was about to punish the whole world. World War II began shortly after this great light was seen, and the second part of the secret was fulfilled. The third part of the secret is the continuation of the words, quote, "In Portugal, the dogma of faith will always be preserved." Many of the facts concerning the chronology of the message of Fatima were discovered by Fatima researcher Frere Michel. While being in the convent of the Dorothean Sisters in June 1943, Sister Lucia became seriously sick, and while Sister Lucia had written down the first two parts of the secret, she still hadn't written down the third secret. Her physical condition was so serious that Bishop de Silva, the Bishop of Fatima, was very concerned. On September 15, 1943, Bishop de Silva traveled to Spain and asked Sister Lucia to write down the third secret, quote, if she really wanted to. Sister Lucia asked the bishop for a formal written order. In mid-October 1943, Bishop de Silva gave Sister Lucia a formal order to write down the third secret. Sister Lucia, over the next 3 months, would try to write down the third secret. She found herself in a terrible anguish, and each time she tried to write down the third secret, she felt something that was preventing her from writing down the third secret. After 3 months of this crisis, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared on January 2, 1944, and told Sister Lucia that it was indeed God's will that she write down the third secret. The following day she wrote down the third secret, and it was delivered to Bishop de Silva. Bishop de Silva could have read the third secret at once, but he decided not to because he was scared at the responsibility of having the knowledge of its contents. Sister Lucia made Bishop de Silva promise that, quote, the third secret would be open and read to the world upon her death or in 1960, whatever would happen first, end quote. In 1946, Sister Lucia was asked why it was necessary to wait until 1960, and she responded, quote, because the Blessed Virgin wishes it so, and, quote, it would become clear at that time. The Holy Office at the Vatican demanded the text of the third secret in 1957. Bishop Venancio, Bishop de Silva's auxiliary bishop, pleaded with Bishop de Silva to finally read the third secret. De Silva refused, so Venancio decided to hold the envelope containing the third secret up to the light, and said that the third secret was about 20 to 25 lines long. On April 16, 1957, the third secret arrived in Rome. The evidence seems to indicate that Pope Pius XII was going to wait until 1960 to read the third secret, but ended up dying on October 9, 1958. So the whole world waited in 1960 for the Vatican to release the third secret, and on February 8, 1960, the Vatican announced in a press release that the third secret would not be revealed. The only reason that the Vatican wouldn't release the third secret was because it was embarrassing to the Vatican. Some might ask the question that even if the Vatican said they wouldn't be revealing the third secret to the public in 1960, why didn't Sister Lucia herself tell the whole world what the third secret really was?